This is the Final Whistle podcast. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Final Whistle podcast. Today I'm joined by Sam Smith.
You alright, mate?
Jacob Pannons.
Evening.
And Alex Robertson.
How are you doing, mate?
Today is a little prediction before the Premier League season kicks off. Sorry for the bad quality. We're doing it over Skype. We're going to do our 1 to 20 prediction. We're going to also predict the FA Cup winner, League Cup winner, and the Champions League winner. Right, lads. Transfer window's just shut. Let's just talk about a few of the signings that have happened. A few surprises along the way. A few players that have stayed, that have perhaps wanted to move on. Let's start with the big one that didn't happen. Wilfried Zaha wanted to move, handed a transfer request in, and it looks like he's going to be staying at Crystal Palace for at least until January. Do you think it's going to affect his performances going into the new season?
I'll take that one.
Go for it.
I think it's a difficult situation for Palace, really, because obviously in previous seasons he has wanted to go, but it's never got to a situation where he's handed in a transfer request, and this is as serious as it's ever got for Palace. And the scenario that they don't want, that is probably going to happen, is that he becomes frustrated, becomes unhappy, isn't professional about it, and it affects his performances. I mean, there was a time around sort of January last year where he was getting frustrated and he was taking it out in challenges on the opposition, and he was getting frustrated and angry, and it took him to actually get sent off against Southampton just for pretty much kicking out at James Ward-Prowse and then clapping Andre Marriner and getting a second yellow card, for him to turn his form around last season, because after that he sort of put his frustrations behind him, let his football do the talking, and had a good end to the season. But I can see the situation getting worse, really, to be honest.
Just staying with Crystal Palace a second, they sold Wan-Bissaka quite early on in the window for about 45 million. And you haven't replaced that right-back position. There was sort of a lack of movement on deadline day. I think a few people expected a couple more signings to come in just to secure your squad and have the depth available to you for next season. Do you think that the lack of signings is going to have a big impact next season?
Yeah, I mean, because obviously Joel Ward is now our only right back, and if he was, I mean, it's almost written for him to get injured in the first 10 minutes on Saturday. And I was talking to a few people earlier, and there is literally nobody who can play right back. I mean, Martin Kelly's played there before. He's seen as more of a centre back now by Hodgson. And I think generally Hodgson won't. I mean, he came out on Sky earlier and said he was happy with the buys this summer, but deep down, I don't think he will. I mean, he said a few weeks ago that he wants 4 or 5 more after we signed Jordan Ayew, and he didn't get those 3 or 4 more. I think there was only 3 in the end. It was his Gary Cahill, Camarasa and McCarthy who ended up signing, and there are a lot of places in that team. I can think of right back, left back, out wide and up front where there is serious lack of depth. The starting 11 is good enough to survive, but in the last few seasons, Palace have had so many injuries. At some points there's been 12 injuries, and it really does affect the form, because I mean there isn't much depth outside of the starting 11.
Yeah, another team that sort of opposes Palace and has made really good signings this summer and supposedly had a low transfer budget is Arsenal. Just send this to the floor for anyone to answer this. Do you think they've done the best business this transfer window?
No.
No.
Well, they've needed to
Straight
fix their defence for years, and they still haven't done it. They've got a good attack, I won't lie, but their defence is still in shambles. Their defence isn't good enough for the top 6. And that's been the case for the last few years.
Tierney and Louise are decent signings, I know.
Is Louise
I think
decent,
so,
though?
but Louise is on his way out. Louise is past it. I think Tierney is a good signing. I'll give them that. But I think
Heck.
with Koscielny leaving and you bring in Luis, who's maybe got 1 or 2 years, and he's been really vocal in the past about wanting to return to Benfica one day and potentially return to Brazil, that you'd imagine you're getting 1-2 seasons. And you look at a very aging defence with Socrates, for example, and it's sort of been the way it's been for Arsenal the last few years with defences. They've had Socrates, Lichtsteiner, who's gone now, but there's sort of been a pattern of a few older players coming in, which I think is good in the defence occasionally, but their defence isn't going to be around forever. In 5 years' time, that's going to be a completely different defence, bar Kieran Tierney, if he sticks around. And I think still their defence is where they should have focused. I think Pepe is a good sign, but we'll have to see how he does in the Premier League. But their defence, for me, I think they needed to sign someone like a Maguire, even though I think Man United paid too much for Maguire. I think the defence is something they should have had priority over the attack, and that hasn't been the case. And leaving, I think David Luiz is a great centre-back, but I think he's past that and he's not a signing looking forward. He was potentially a bit of a panic buy because Koscielny left quite late.
Well, you can't always have your first pick. So it's come to this part of the transfer window where there's not much they can do about it. They've saw David Luiz. They think he wants to join. It's £8 million. That's, in my opinion, that's a very, very good deal for Arsenal. Although he's old. They're going to get at least 1 or 2 good seasons out of him. And yeah, he is a bit suspect defensively. But for me, he's going to improve their defence. And so is Tierney. So they've improved on last season's defence and they've improved their attack with the likes of Pepe and Ceballos signing. So
I would say Tierney, I think, is a good signing. I said that at the start of my little rant. But with Luiz, I really, really like Luiz as a player. I really do. But you've got to think like West Ham. We know, Frankie, that West Ham signed a lot of good players, but they're about 35 years old. And there's a frustration as a fan, and you sort of know that this is going to be good for 6-12 months. But then after that, we're going to be right back to square one thinking, okay, who are we going to sign? And, we sign players like Jose Fonte, for example, at the back. And it's been refreshing to see players like Issa Diop come in, where you could think this could last, 5, possibly 10 years if we're lucky. But, when we signed Jose Fonte, it's sort of like we're getting 1, maybe 2 years out of him. And then we're right back to the start where we have to look for a new player. And if you sign another 30-something-year-old, you've got to go back again to square one in the next 2 seasons. There's got to be, especially with the way Arsenal have been in the past with an emphasis on youth players, the defence is something that's struggling and weakening with age. And I think David Luiz adds to it. I mean, if they didn't sign David Luiz, they'd be in a lot worse state than now that they do have David Luiz. But I think to say that they've had a phenomenal window is a bit... I think they've had a decent window, and I think they've played someone.
Alex, who do you think's had the best window?
Well,
Arsenal.
I mean,
I think a lot of teams have had good windows. Alex, I'll let you talk for a little
bit. Who stands out?
Too much.
Anyone, just who stands out? For
me,
Arsenal stand out.
Have had a good window. I think Everton have had a good window.
Yeah, Everton.
Everton have done very well. I think Arsenal have definitely done good business. They've made clever signings and stuff like that. So I would say actually Arsenal have probably had the best window. Definitely out of the top 6.
I think out of the top 6, I would say, I think the top 6, it's been a fairly quiet window. I still think Man City, a lot of people are sleeping on because they haven't. But I think João Cancelo at fullback, I think he's quite good, an improvement. And they got him, considering they sold Danilo the other way for 30 million, it equals out to about 31 million for him.
Arsenal have made the most signings, haven't they? Definitely.
Yeah, Arsenal out of the top 6, Arsenal have made the most, and then Spurs have made some good signings as well.
Chelsea are a complete write-off, obviously.
Yeah.
Good point, Alan.
Liverpool haven't signed anyone. Man City have signed 2 players, but they signed them for a lot of money. It's over 100 mil for the pair. So, but
we still haven't mentioned Aston Villa. Aston Villa have signed every.
They have not signed good players. They've not signed
good players, but we're talking about quantity of players and amount of money spent. I would say with Aston Villa, there's a lot of money. Like when they signed Jota, I thought this has just got 6 months in the Premier League before being loaned back to Eibar, written all over it. We can just see it happening. But there's a lot of players like Wesley and stuff where you think, who knows? With those sort of players you bring in from the Belgian league, for example, and the smaller European leagues, God knows how they're going to do. It could turn around a bit of success like Benteke at Aston Villa, or it could just be a complete flop and in 6 months or a year he's going to be on loan in Turkey somewhere. It could sort of go either way, but I think there's a lot of money being thrown around, and I think Tom Heaton is a phenomenal signing. when I saw that, I thought,
Mm-hmm.
Arguably one of I'm not saying the best transfer, but I say arguably one of the best because they were weak in that position. And Tom Heaton for the last 5 years has been one of the best keepers in the league and got a lot of praise all round.
And probably one of the most astute signings, not necessarily the best, but in terms of being
it was one of the most impressive. When I saw it, I was like, that's a really, really good signing. Low risk, and they needed that position. I thought Tom Heaton's a great goalkeeper. I think they got him a lot cheaper than they would have done last year, for example, because of this injury and stuff. And I'm really surprised Burnley let him go. But yeah, I think that was a standout signing for me. Tom Heaton, I was really, really impressed.
Hey man, they've got Danny Drinkwater on loan now. You know.
Yeah, another good bit of business to do.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you know, we don't know how they're going to perform. It's all just, we say this every window, and then transfers turn out to be flops. But well, we're going to predict our season, who's going to finish where. So that'll be a judgment of how we think the transfer window's gone for each club. We're going to start with naming all of our bottom threes. Sam, do you want to start with your 3 candidates to go down this season?
Should I go from 20 to 18?
Mate, do what you think is the best way to do it, mate.
I went a bit left field with the bottom 3 because
left field.
I think I've got Norwich bottom because I think they've kind of gone under the radar this summer in terms of the fact that they haven't actually done much. And towards the end of last season, they were really stuttering and they struggled in the end to actually win the championship. But and I have Newcastle in 19th, which I mean that it just depends on how their new signings get on, I suppose. And I've got Sheffield United just about go down. I think Sheffield United I like Chris Wilder, and I think they're a lot better than people are giving them credit for. They play really nice football. I think there's a bit of a stereotype about Chris Wilder in the sense that people think he's one of these sort of old boys long ball merchant, which he isn't. And I mean, they play with overlapping fullbacks, which I think is incredible. To be honest, I think that's quite amazing. It's good to watch.
But they haven't really signed anyone, have they? Like, who have they brought in to improve their chances?
I tell you what,
they brought in Ravel Morrison, which is a wild card. They've spent like 17 million on Ollie McBurney and Phil Jagielka and Lise Mousset. But
what I can compare Sheffield United to, it's been a bit like Palace when they first went up. It's all kind of the best of the Championship. There isn't much variation, and time will tell whether those. I mean, I like Ollie McBurney, and he's never really. I mean, I know he had a season at Swansea in the Premier League where he played a couple of games, but he's never really had a chance to prove himself. And I mean, he got something like 20 goals last season, and if you score 20 goals in the Championship, you're not a bad player. Quite a lot of players have made that jump up and fitted in well at their new club. So it's only time will tell, really.
Okay, Jacob, what's your 3 candidates to go down for next season?
Bottom, I've got Sheffield United. 19th, I've got Norwich, but those I'm sort of like Sam. I could have had them either way around. Yeah, I debated them back and forth a few times, but I just think Sheffield United. I think they were quite a poor team to get promoted anyway, sort of like Cardiff last year, and or a couple of years back, and then my last relegated team is I contemplated this, but I think I went with Burnley in the end.
Burnley.
Right. Yeah, it was a tough one. I think this year it could sort of be any team. I think Burnley, Brighton, Crystal Palace, Southampton. I think you wouldn't be surprised to see any of them fighting around there.
Yeah.
I think even Aston Villa potentially. So I think it's really difficult I think Norwich and Sheffield United, I would feel quite safe saying that, but the third one is really difficult. I would just say Burnley. I feel like they made a few improvements this window with Drinkwater and stuff. But it's just, I think with Burnley, it's sort of been, we can all see in the next 5 years they're going to struggle. They had that 1 year where they got up to the Europa League, but not playing attractive football, not playing smart football, arguably. But, you've got to think, the clock's ticking. They've got an expiration date in the Premier League, in my opinion, if they carry on this track. And I think maybe they'll be found out this season.
Alex, what's yours? What you got?
Standard stuff. Sheffield United at the bottom, Norwich 19th. And then as a bit of controversy at the start of the call, I've gone Brighton in 18th place.
Ooh. See, they've spent quite a bit of money, so do you not think their signings are going to be impressive enough?
I really don't know. I'll be honest with you. I'm not entirely sure what their signings are.
Brilliant.
Good to see some good
I'll tell you a
research
few.
went into this.
Neil Maupay scored about 20-something goals last season in the Championship. Quality signing. Adam Webster for 20 mil from Bristol City, another highly rated centre-back. They brought in Aaron Moy today on loan from Huddersfield. They brought in Trossard, the winger, for 15 million. So they've spent quite a fair bit of money. They've spent close to 60 million.
They spent a bit of money, but towards the end of the last season, they were absolutely god-awful. If they continue the form that they did in the second half of last season, I mean, they would have been relegated, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought in that Moy from Huddersfield. He's no great shakes, is he?
I think he could create a bit.
I don't know. I mean, you never really know until you find out, do you? But it's basically a toss-up for that 18th place between like Brighton, I say Southampton, maybe Newcastle, or even Bournemouth.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Newcastle.
But I just personally think Brighton will be the ones to just slip into that last relegation place.
Yep, I've gone Brighton 17th, so they've just missed out, and I've gone Sheffield United bottom, which is quite a standard pick. I've got Burnley 19th. I think they're going to struggle. They lost Tom Heaton. That's a massive loss for them. And I just think they haven't really improved on the quality they've got. I don't think they've got an abundance of quality already. I think they're going to struggle, to be honest. And I think my 18th pick is going to be a bit controversial here. I think I'm going to get a few...
Chelsea.
I'm just going to say it.
Go on, then.
Crystal Palace. And I'll tell you my reasoning.
I can see it.
Because I think either one or two things are going to happen. Zaha's either going to stay, because he can still go to a foreign club. He's either going to stay this summer, and I don't think his head's going to be in it. I don't think he's going to be the player he was last season. And I think you're going to struggle defensively. You haven't improved on the right-back position. You've made a few good signings with that Camarasa sign. I think that's a decent signing. And I don't think you have the goals. I don't think up front you've got enough goals. I don't think you can overly rely on Zaha this season, especially when his mind isn't in it.
It is a huge problem up front. I mean, you also basically rely on Christian Benteke to be a hold-up man and to score goals. And I think he's got 4 goals in 2 seasons, which just isn't good enough.
Yeah, that was exactly my reason. And you didn't bring in a striker to effectively get you 10 to 15 goals a season, and you didn't replace Wan-Bissaka, arguably one of your most important players. So, and I can see if things aren't going well at the start of the season, I think Zaha will force through a move come January if it's still happening, and if performances aren't there, I think Roy Hodgson could be one of the first to go. A bit controversial, but I think he might be one of the first managers to be sacked.
Interesting.
Fair enough.
Let's move on to let's do 17th to about 12th, 17th to 12th. Those sort of area. Just have like the mid-table selections. So Sam, do you want to start with those?
From 17th to 12th, I've got Brighton, Palace, Villa, Burnley, Southampton, and Bournemouth. And I mean, I say this every year, and those kind of 6 teams, it literally could be any way round. It's impossible to tell. You get teams who'll go on ridiculous runs and climb up the table a bit. You have teams who can plummet down, and you'll always get a shock team in and around those kind of places too. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's quite difficult to call. We'll just sort of breeze over these ones. Jacob, what you got?
I got 17th Brighton, 16th Newcastle, 15th Southampton, 14th Crystal Palace, 13th Aston Villa, 12th Watford. But obviously, I did this last night, so this was before the whole half fiasco. So maybe I'd do it a little bit differently now.
Yeah, it is difficult to call that, so it's not overly important. Alex, what you got?
Yeah, pretty similar. I think it'll mostly be between, for that last 18th place, Southampton and Brighton. So I've got Southampton 17th, and then just Bournemouth, Newcastle, Burnley, and then Palace. Could be any order though, couldn't it?
Yeah, I've gone Brighton 17th, just surviving. Then Newcastle, Norwich, Southampton, Villa, and Watford in 12th. Um, so this is where it gets a little bit more tricky because there's a lot of teams competing for Europe. I'd say there's about four or five teams that are in with a shout of finishing best of the rest, if you will. So let's do 11th to 9th, them three positions. Who do you think is sort of going to miss out on properly competing for Europe this season? What you got, Sam?
I've got Watford in 11th, Everton 10th, and West Ham 9th.
You've got Everton 10th. That's quite
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, they've made a lot of signings, haven't they? And it's whether they gel. I mean, I'm still not fully convinced by Marco Silva, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
So
Because I really liked him when he first came to English football, and I thought he was really good at Hull. But there's something missing that I can't put a finger on with Marco Silva.
Do you think Moise Kean, 19 years old, is going to make a big enough impact to push? Well, obviously you don't. So what was your reasoning for that?
I mean, it's such a difficult one. I mean, they've obviously got good squads. Keane is a good player. I've seen a bit of him for Juventus, and he gets goals, but is he going to get? I mean, to be pushing into kind of 8th and above, you need a striker who's going to get 15, 20 goals a season. Is he that man to get that many goals? I mean, probably will be in 2, 3, 4 years' time, but at 19, you can't have that kind of pressure on your shoulders unless you are an incredible player.
He said in an interview he's aiming for something like 6 or 7 goals this season.
7 goals, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously their other forward is Richarlison, and he's never. I don't think he's got kind of like 15, 20 goals before. He gets a few. He might get 10. Will that pair? I mean, that pair together could get 20 goals between them this season. That might be enough to push them up. But it's whether they get that.
What about the sign today, Alex Iwobi, 40 mil? Do you think he's good enough? Do you think that's a weird signing?
Yeah, it was because on the face of it, it kind of looks like a panic buy, but obviously it isn't a panic buy because I can't see a reason why they would make a panic signing this late in the window when they've already done some good business. They've signed a few midfielders, haven't they? I think, and so they lost Idrissa Gana Gueye, which is I think that's a big loss. I can't remember the guy's name they brought in to replace him, but I haven't really heard much about him, so it'd be interesting to see how he fits in. But yeah, it's my main issue is Marco Silva and whether he can push them up. I mean, if like you were saying with Roy Hodgson, if Everton don't start well enough this season, I can see Silva going, to be honest.
Right. Yeah. And you had, was it West Ham 9th?
I had, hold on, just turn my phone on. Yeah, West Ham 9th. Again, another one.
You were saying about having the sort of 15 to 20 goal striker to push into the top 8. Do you not think Sebastian Haller is that person?
Oh, he could be. I mean, again, it's so difficult to call. I mean, he could get injured. Someone else could get injured. I mean, it's really difficult to make these kind of predictions. And
yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Jacob, what have you got as your 11th to 9th?
I've got 11th Bournemouth, 10th Leicester, 9th Everton.
Okay. You don't think Leicester have enough to push into the top 7 this season?
No. I don't know. With Leicester, I really like their squad. On paper, I'm absolutely besotted by their squad. But I mean, they lost Harry Maguire. Obviously, I mean, I don't blame them for parting with him for 80 million. But whether or not they've got any depth in that position to, they've lost their star centre back there really late on in the window. So we'll see how they'll bounce back from that. And I think Brendan Rodgers is a good manager. I think he'll get the best out of them. They could push up. But what I noticed last year was when West Ham were going into face Leicester, I was shaking in my boots. I thought, oh, Leicester, look at their squad. They're unbelievable. They showed up and they just didn't play as well as I expected them to. I think they're maybe better on paper than they actually are on the pitch.
That was under Claude Puel, though. I swear both times Leicester and
Yeah.
West Ham played each other last season. Puel was still in charge, wasn't he?
No, Brendan Rodgers was
No.
when they played us at London Stadium in
Yeah,
April
London
or something
Stadium,
like
that
that.
was Rodgers.
Oh, so
Yeah,
that was
I
a
think
2-2.
Leicester can go one or two ways. I think Leicester. I don't think Leicester are going to drop, too far. I don't think they're going to drop below 12th, maybe. But I think it's going to depend on how Rodgers can turn things around. It's not like they're in trouble or anything. But I mean, they've lost Maguire, and they're going to need a little bit more focusing. It's his first full season at Leicester, so he's going to be keen to prove himself. But I know with Leicester, I agree with what Sam said. With Marco Silva at Everton, it's like Marco Silva's missing something for me, and it's sort of like with Leicester, I just feel like there's something missing. Although I can't put my finger on it, it just feels like there's something missing before they push up and challenge.
What, in terms of manager or?
In terms of everything, really, I think Brendan Rodgers is a good manager, and our seventh place managers. I would say
I think he's a really good fit for Leicester, if I'm honest with you.
I think he's a good fit, but I don't know
attacking
what it is.
football.
I don't know what it is. Like I say, I can't put my finger on it. I just think West Ham are a better team. I think Wolves have a better team and sort of work better together. I think Everton and Leicester could be close because, like Sam said, I agree. Marco Silva seems like he's sort of missing that something, and Keane, he spent so much money on him. He's still young, and I was in Italy while this was all going on and when he signed. I was around a lot of Juventus fans, and they didn't care at all. They couldn't care less that he left. So it sort of made me think, I wonder if he's sort of hyped up. And a lot of people said he's a bit overrated, to be honest. He's just quite young and exciting. So I don't know. With Keane, I'd like to see him do well. And I love Italian football and I love what he's about. And I love a good young player. It's exciting to see. But from seeing what I saw in Italy, there doesn't seem to be nobody's losing any sleep over Keane leaving Juventus. So
I mean, I wouldn't lose much sleep if I had Ronaldo as my striker either, to be honest.
Yeah, true. But if he was as excited, if he was going to be a world beater, I think a few fans would be a little bit worried. And obviously, like you say, they've got backup, so it's not like they're struggling on the front foot. But if West Ham lost Declan Rice, I'd be pretty upset.
Yeah. Okay. Alex, what have you got for your 11th to 9th positions?
11th to 9th. Wait, did we? Oh yeah, we did. So I have got Villa in 11th. Slightly ambitious, I know, but I think Villa will be. There's out of the teams that get promoted, there's always one team that does all right, like Wolves last year and stuff. So I think Villa will be that team. I think they'll come. They'll do fairly decent. I got Watford in 10th, and then I got Wolves in 9th.
Okay. Yep.
And but actually looking at that, I'd probably change Wolves to 10th place now. Actually, I don't know. It seems well, I mean, they're in the Europa League this season, aren't they? Wolves. I think they've done all right today. They've won like 4-5-0 away from home or something.
Oh right, yeah.
I think they'll deal. I think they'll deal with the Europa League better than Burnley did last season. 100%.
How far do you think they'll go in the Europa League?
I mean, what? So Burnley didn't even make the
I think everyone's been pretty disastrous when they've got the 7th place. I think West Ham were awful, didn't get into the group. Everton were poor. Burnley were poor. Southampton were poor. So
I think Wolves will be. I think they'll do all right. They'll definitely make the actual group stages. I think.
Do you think they've got the depth to do it to contest with the Premier League and Europa League?
Well, I mean, once it actually comes to when the matches are mixed up, then probably not. I don't think they'll make it out they won't make it into the knockout stages. I don't think. But
I think I'm putting it out there. I think Wolves will go quite far in the Europa League.
How far are you thinking?
I mean, it's impossible to say, but I think they'll get out of the group stages. I think they have a good enough squad to do it. I love the manager there. He's really good, and I think they'll go much further than teams like Burnley have in the past.
I think they should heavily invest their time into the Europa League, to be honest.
I mean, they're not going down, are they? Let's be
exactly.
honest.
They're established enough to stay in the Premier League. They've got a real chance to go in. I agree with you, Sam. I think they've got a squad good enough to get out of the group. And over 2 legs, you never know what's going to happen. I reckon they could reach quarterfinals minimum.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah, with their squad, if they're on fire, they've proved that Molineux's a difficult place to go. Europa League teams won't like going there. And it'll be interesting to see how they do. Actually, I want them to do well. I like Wolves. I think they're a good team, and like you said, I like the manager as well.
So they went quite far in the FA Cup last year, and you're basically swapping. I mean, they can sack off the League Cup and FA Cup to focus on Europa League, and they were good enough last season to go quite far in the FA Cup. So they're easily good enough to go quite far in the Europa League as well. I don't think it's a case of not being able to manage both competitions.
Yeah, they haven't lost anyone. I think that's crucial as well. They've kept Jota at the club. They've re-signed Jimenez, and
Ruben Neves as well.
Ruben Neves. Yeah, they've kept a lot of their talent. Well, pretty much everything. So, yeah, I think they're established enough to go far in Europa League. I agree with that. For my prediction, though, because I think they're going to go far in Europa League, I've put Wolves as 11th. Because I think they'll put most of their eggs in the Europa League basket, and I think they'll probably suffer because playing on a Thursday night and then having to play on the Sunday, I don't think they have enough squad depth to challenge for top 7 this season if they're going to go far in Europa League. In 10th, I've got Bournemouth. I think Eddie Howe is a fantastic manager. I think they've signed well. They've kept their crucial players. They've kept Wilson. They've kept King. They've kept all these players. So I think they're usually ones that could go under the radar. Bournemouth. They usually float around mid-table. I think they're a solid 10th pick this season. And in 9th, I've got Leicester. I think I would have placed them higher had they kept Harry Maguire, but they haven't replaced him. And defensively, I think they are good defensively. They've got good fullbacks, but not replacing Harry Maguire, one of their most important centre backs, arguably the most important centre back at the club, was a massive blow. And they have got the talent going forwards, but is it enough to mount a top 7 challenge over 38 games? I don't think so. That leaves us with top 8. So let's go 8th, 7th, and 6th. Who do we think is going to go finish in those 3 positions? What you got, Sam?
I've got Wolves in 8th and Manchester United in 7th, which I know is very controversial. Manchester United in 7th. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to start. We talk about needing good strikers to get into those positions who score 15 to 20 goals a season, and so they've lost Lukaku today, and their other striker is Marcus Rashford. And can you rely on Marcus Rashford to score 20 goals a season? I don't think you can. I like Rashford. I think he's a good player. I used to like him as a striker, but when he started playing on the wing, I thought, I think he's a winger, to be honest, not an out-and-out striker. I mean, he'll probably play. Can he play up top on his own is a big question, because usually he would sort of play kind of in behind Lukaku. He had a target man next to him, someone to flip the ball onto him, someone to give him the ball, and he's going to be making all these different kind of runs now, and it's whether he can cope with that pressure being Manchester United striker. And I'm not sure he can do it. I mean, Martial can play there as well, but I'm not completely convinced that Solskjaer likes him. I mean, there was a lot of rumours that he could be going this summer. He's obviously stayed. I don't think he's a Manchester United striker, to be honest. I think Man United have big problems still. And Solskjaer, again, we talk about managers needing a good start, and Solskjaer is going to need a good start. I can just see a David Moyes situation, to be honest.
Talking about Man U, Manchester United, they haven't strengthened in attack. A forgotten man, probably forgotten man, Alexis Sanchez. He's played number 9 before. He had injuries last season, but he had a decent Copa America this summer. Do you think he could come back and surprise a few this season?
I really hope he does. I really hope he does.
He'll be used out wide, or do you reckon Solskjaer might utilise him as a centre forward?
I don't know. It was now that Lukaku's gone. Obviously, we need someone in that position. We can't just rely on Rashford and Mason Greenwood as well. The whole thing's triggered me so much. But I mean, Sanchez is there. He's there for a reason, isn't he? How old is he now? What is he? 30?
31, I think.
31. I mean, he's not past it, is he? I still think.
Is he not?
I don't think he's past it. No,
he's not past it. No,
he's past his absolute peak, isn't he?
I don't think that's debatable. Peak, but I reckon he still has a lot to offer for United, and in centre forward would be his most likely more successful position rather than being out wide, because he probably doesn't have as much pace to utilise anymore. But I do at this point, right? What other choice do United have? they got to try something, and they brought in Sanchez. I mean, I know he came in as a swap deal, so they didn't spend a whole load of money on him, but
Solskjaer is still trying to get rid of him towards the end of the transfer window. Sanchez is completely surplus to requirements there. There's absolutely no way he rekindles his career. I'd be massively shocked if he rekindled his career there, went on and scored 15 to 20 goals this season.
I would be very shocked as well, and it obviously seems like he doesn't actually fit in at United for whatever reason. I don't know. But it's just one of those confusing things, really, isn't it? About football, you get stuff like that. But I hope he gets a bit more playing time this season, and maybe he might kick on from that. You don't know.
So you had United in 7th, Alex. Who did you have, Sam? Who did you have in 6th?
In 6th, I had Leicester.
You think they're going to break into the top 6?
Yeah, I do. I remember Klopp's first half season at Liverpool when he had a similar start to Rodgers, where he had one good result and a really bad result, and it was kind of mixed. Now he's had that pre-season. He's got a squad that's his group of players now, I think, and I think they'll do well this season. My only problem with Leicester is that I've seen some the amount of midfielders, kind of like number 10 players that they have, and it's just packed. They've got a really bloated midfield, and if anyone becomes kind of frustrated at not getting game time, then it could filter out into the rest of the squad. I don't know. It's one of them where you can't really tell, but I'm excited by Leicester this season, I think.
Okay, Jacob, who have you got as your 8th, 7th, and 6th pick?
Let me just get this up. So my 8th, I had Wolves. I think they'll be good, but obviously I think they're, like you said, Frankie, I agree that I think their priority will be the Europa League if they go far. 7th, I've got West Ham, best of the rest. I think I always hate predicting West Ham to be alright because I look really biased. But I genuinely think, completely, obviously my support for them aside, I think they've made some phenomenal signings. They've signed some really good players in Allaire, Fornals. I think they've signed some good young players, some good backup. And I think Pellegrini's got a side that he likes. And Pellegrini's such an experienced manager, and in my opinion, one of the most underrated managers in the league. And I think he knows what he's doing. He really does. He's signed some of the best players in the world. He signed Ronaldo. He signed Kaká back in the day. He signed De Bruyne. He signed Sterling. So, he knows what he wants, and he's used to bringing in top quality players. So I think he knows what he's looking for in his players. And so I think they've made some great signings, and I think he's got a squad that's his. Last season, I think he struggled to find his best side towards the start of the year, and I think essentially that cost them a Europa League spot. If at the start of the season he'd known that Balbuena and Diop were going to be playing together the rest of the year, then maybe they would have been a bit higher because he struggled to figure that out for a few months. But I think he knows his best side now. He's brought in some players he likes. They've been together a while now. I think they could, with a bit of luck, because West Ham always falling short of requirements, they could push on to 7th. And then 6th, I've got Manchester United. I got stuck. I did this last night, so this is obviously before Tierney and Luis. So I had Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United all bouncing around the 6th position. And I settled on Man United in the end. I just think there seems to be a lot going on behind the scenes. I think, obviously Pogba's a bit unsettled. I think everyone's sort of rubbing shoulders. I think there seems to be, everyone seems a little bit unsettled. You get that feeling. And I think I like Solskjaer, but I really can't see him settling the ship and guiding them much higher than 6th. But obviously Chelsea can't sign anyone. Frank Lampard, who's had 12 months as a football manager, that could go anyway. And Arsenal, I think, Pepe's a flop. Get a couple injuries. Tierney had an injury last. I think it could be absolute carnage towards the bottom of the top 6.
Absolute carnage.
I think it could be. I think it could go completely tits up for Arsenal, Chelsea, and Manchester United at this point.
Yeah. What about you, Alex? What you got 8th, 7th, and 6th?
8th, 7th, and 6th. Well, I've got Leicester in 7th. I've got Everton in 8th. I'm not being biased because Leicester are my 3rd favourite team, but I genuinely think they'll be the best of the rest of the season. They lost Maguire, but they got some good attacking players. Madison's good, and they've signed Yuri Tielemans permanently. I think he's an incredible player. And Vardy, he's still there. He's probably coming to the end of his tenure at Leicester. But
They signed Jose Perez. Do you think he could be the man to provide more goals?
Do you know what? I completely forgot, and I think I think he will. I think he will provide more goals. To be honest, I mean, you never know about a strike partnership until you actually see the way it plays out. But he and Vardy could be all right up top.
And who do you have sixth?
And sixth, I've got United. Obviously,
Yep.
They're just going to be. It's just I was debating whether they'll be sixth or seventh or not, but just out of pure dignity, I kept them in sixth place because I don't want to believe that they're going to drop out the top six. I thought one thing I am excited about Man United is Daniel James from Swansea. I think he's electric. He's got loads of pace, and I'm interested to see how he's going to play for the season. To be honest,
where do you think he'll play? Do you think he'll play out wide left, out wide right?
Well, I mean that was the thing because the whole thing was about getting a player to play in the right wing. But it looks like he's in pre-season. He's played on the left. So I mean, you never know. I mean, Solskjaer might end up putting him over onto the other side, but that means on the left it'll be between him and sort of Martial, contending for left wing. So I just reckon whoever's not on the left will be on the right. But I'm just I actually can't wait to see him play. It's the only thing that excites me about United at the moment. Pogba can go away. Personally.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
I mean, look at him. He doesn't even want to be there, does he?
Does he not?
No.
I mean,
he said there was interviews that he did, before a couple of months ago or a month ago or something.
Yeah, he did one of those sort of standard interviews where it's like, we'll see what happens. I'm looking for another challenge. I mean, he hasn't gone to the route Zaha's gone down by handing the transfer request. He can't massively want to leave.
No, but I mean, he hasn't properly publicly stated that he wants to get out of there. But if I'm honest with you, even when he signed in the first place, I wasn't overly happy anyway. He's an incredible player, and he is our best player. But I mean, if I always believe that if someone doesn't want to be there, then what's the point in him being there?
I agree.
You can't have if he doesn't want to be there, he's not going to put his heart and soul into it, is he? And United have always. I know this is rich coming from me because I support about 10 different teams, but United have always prided themselves on playing for the club, playing for the badge, and the history of the team and the class of '92, all that stuff. I just don't think he's the right fit, in terms of personality.
Yeah,
but we'll see. We'll see how he plays.
We'll see this season how he plays. Yeah, he's got the talent. Yeah, there's no doubt in his talent. It's just his attitude and applying it this season.
Yeah.
My eighth pick is slightly more controversial. I've gone Chelsea in eighth. I think Frank Lampard, this first season, Chelsea fans won't really care where they finish, to be honest. I think anything in the top 8 is a successful season for Chelsea, in my opinion. I don't think having no one to sign, having to use what you've got is not ideal for any manager in any team. We saw that with Pep Guardiola when he first arrived. He didn't have the squad that he wanted. He didn't have the players that suited his style. And they struggled. People were questioning his ability as a manager, his tactics in the English league, and I think a similar thing could happen with Frank Lampard this season. I don't think he's got the players that he wants. Yeah, he's going to have talent. Obviously, it's Chelsea. There's talent in that squad, but it's not the players that he wants. Managers always come into a squad, and they want new players. They want to reshape and reform the squad into what they think will work. Whether the players will work in his system, I don't think it will happen this season. I think they've got Champions League. I think they're going to focus a lot on that. I think Frank Lampard will want to go far in that in his first season for Chelsea. And like I said, he's inexperienced. He's never managed in the Premier League before. We don't really know how good he is as a manager, and I think 8th this season will pretty much be a decent season for Chelsea. And I think they'll target the Champions League as their priority. And in 7th, I've gone West Ham. I think what we saw last season, they didn't even finish that far off Wolves. And they had a lot of injuries, a lot of problems, the Arnautovic thing. And this season, it's just clicking going forwards. Defensively, there's still issues. Don't get me wrong, but I think offensively, we've got a lot of new signings in there. Haller's come in, scored 20 goals and got 12 assists last season. We've just signed a 22-year-old striker that got 21 goals and 11 assists last season. So we've got goals up front. There's no doubt in that. It's whether they can do it in the Premier League, and I think Haller can. Pablo Fornals is another good signing. And last season, West Ham didn't have Lanzini for the majority of it because he was injured, and he's been arguably one of our best players in pre-season. And Jack Wilshere, another one that's been one of our best players in pre-season. They didn't have him for the majority, both of those players for the majority, and they're basically coming into the starting 11 straight away. And offensively, I think West Ham have one of the best attacks outside the top 6, in my opinion, with the attacking options they've got. I think Anderson, Lanzini, Fornals, Haller, Wilshere is 5 fantastic players, and if they stay fit, touchwood, this is all if they stay fit, West Ham have the squad capable of finishing 7th. And in 6th, I've gone Everton. I sort of disagree with you guys. I like Marco Silva as a manager. I think he's done a decent job at Everton since he came in. They didn't start great, but the second half of the season they were brilliant. They were beating the likes of Man U, Arsenal, Chelsea. They drew with Liverpool. And they were one of the most impressive teams I saw last season at the London Stadium. Just the football they played and the quality they had. They completely dominated the game. And I think, yes, Idrissa Gueye is a big loss, but I think the player they've signed has, I was looking at his stats in the Liga A, and he's pretty much a like-for-like replacement. So if he can hit the ground running in the Premier League, I think they'll be fine. I think Iwobi is a bit of a weird signing, but I think Silva's intentions is because they haven't signed that marquee striker. Yeah, I know they signed Keane, but they haven't signed like a 20-goal a season striker that they needed. I think he's going to try and play Richarlison maybe as a striker and rotate him and Keane, which will be interesting to see. And I rate Richarlison very highly. I think he's a very good player, and I think he'll score in that attack that they've got. I think Richarlison will score at least 10 to 15 goals this season, in my opinion.
He's literally just been confirmed, hasn't he?
Has it been confirmed now? I knew they agreed a deal.
5-year deal.
Okay, there you go. I mean, Iwobi's not a bad player. It's just his end product.
Was it for £40 million? Is that what it is?
Yeah, about 40 million, I think. 40 million.
I think that's a bit much, but
yeah, that is a lot. But when you look at some of the fees in transfer market this season, is 40 mil really that much for Everton? They haven't signed a great deal, expenses wise. So I don't know. I think Everton have the most equipped squad to break into the top 6 this season, and if they start as they continued last season, I think they could be a dark horse. To be honest, I think I've put them 6th, but I would not be surprised to see them finish 5th. That would be my prediction anyway. So let's go. Let's finish 5th, 4th, and 3rd. What we got for those? We'll leave the top 2 because I'm pretty sure they'll be the same for everyone. Sam, what you got?
I've got Chelsea in 5th, Arsenal 4th, and Tottenham 3rd.
Okay, you think Arsenal are going to get top 4 then?
Yeah. I think they've done just about enough this summer transfer wise. I like David Luiz. I haven't seen much of Pepe, so maybe he'll do well. I don't know. It's again difficult one to call. I like Kieran Tierney as well. I think he really improves them defensively and just generally on the left hand side. And so they've got Hector Bellerin to come back, so to have 2 very capable fullbacks at some point this season.
I'd agree with that. Jacob, what you got?
For me, I've got 5th Chelsea. I think with Frank Lampard, I think they're going to struggle. But like I said, I sort of battled between Arsenal, Chelsea, and Manchester United down the bottom half of the top 6. But I think it will be Chelsea 5th, Arsenal 4th. I think they made some good signings and they'll push on. And 3rd, Spurs. I think Spurs are looking strong off the back of last season. I think they'll only go from strength to strength.
So you don't fancy anyone to break into that top 6, per se?
I mean, if that's going to happen, this is the best chance that there's been for the last few years and could potentially be for the next few seasons with, like I said, especially with Manchester United and Chelsea being in the state that they're in and with West Ham, Wolves, Everton and Leicester all looking very healthy. If it's ever going to happen, this could be the season. But I mean, it's so much more difficult. Like every season, there's always a clear divide. So I don't know. I can't see it happening. I'd love to see it happen. And if it's ever going to happen, this is the season. But I mean, I really, really struggle to see it.
Okay. Alex, what you got, mate?
What in fifth, fourth, and
third? Yeah.
So I've gone Chelsea 5th. I think that's a pretty simple one for me, to be honest. I've gone Arsenal 4th and Spurs in 3rd. But I'll tell you what, I reckon Spurs could break into the top 2.
Really?
Yeah, they've kept Eriksen. They've bought what's his name? But the other guy I always struggle. Ndombele, that's it. Yeah. They bought him in. So what? They're attacking players now. The only problem that I think they have, and I'm getting this purely from Sky Sports News earlier, is that they have a lot of midfielders. So hopefully there's no copyright or anything, but they've got a lot of midfielders. They need to keep them happy. But how they'll deal with that, I don't know. But I think they've got a lot of attacking players and like playmakers and stuff. I don't think they won't match their Champions League of last season. But
no, they do well to do that.
The thing is obviously we'll get onto the top 2 in a minute, but with Liverpool, it's hard to tell whether they're gonna push for the title or if they're gonna just miss out. But I reckon Spurs could be within a chance of 2nd place, but I've gone for 3rd.
Yeah, I've gone United in 5th. I think they'll have a decent season. Nothing special. I think Maguire and Wan-Bissaka are decent signings despite the prices they've paid. It's just whether offensively they've got enough goals. I think Martial could be his breakthrough season. He hasn't really done it since 2015-16 season where he was very good. Pogba depends on whether he's going to be 100% into the club. But yeah, I think 5th is as high as they will finish. I've got Arsenal in 4th. I did originally have them in 5th, but signing Tierney and Luiz, I think, will be good enough for their defence. And at Emirates, they're pretty solid in general. So yeah, I agree with what Sam said about Tierney. I think he improves them just overall, not just in that left back position. And Spurs in 3rd. I think most people's top 3 will look pretty similar, to be honest. So who we got 1st and 2nd? Have we got any surprises? Sam, what you got?
Man City top, Liverpool 2nd. I think Man City definitely win the league this year, whether it'll be as tight as it was last year. I mean, Klopp goes by this philosophy where he prefers his team to improve via coaching rather than constant transfers and spending loads of money. And they've also got Chamberlain coming back. So yeah, I think Liverpool will improve next season. Whether they get the same amount of points, I don't know. They'll improve performance-wise though, and they'll be exciting to watch.
Jacob, you got the same or any surprise?
I've got Liverpool winning the league next season and Man City 2nd.
Why?
I think next season Man City are going to go wholeheartedly into the Champions League. It's the reason Pep Guardiola was brought in. It's what he wants. It's what the board wants. It's what the team wants. I think I was talking to a couple of Liverpool fans and they were saying, ironically, last season, Man City would probably prefer to win the Champions League and Liverpool would probably prefer to win the Premier League. And I think it will probably go the other way. I think Liverpool now will put more focus and go into the Premier League with more confidence. I think they'll go in with their sights on the Premier League title. And although I think both of them are going to want every trophy because I mean they're winning teams, that's what they want to do. I think Man City will probably lean towards the Champions League, while Liverpool would lean towards the Premier League.
Can you see a situation then where Man City don't win a trophy next season? If they put all their eggs in one basket and don't win the Champions League?
Dreams.
I mean, that's the problem. That's a risk because, I mean, Man City is one of those teams that if they don't win a trophy next season, they're going to be ridiculed beyond belief. And I mean, that's one of the risks. I mean, they could always, go.
That'd be great.
They won 4 trophies or something like that. They could always win a League Cup here or a FA Cup there. But I mean, I think for them, they'll have their eyes focused on the Champions League. That's the one trophy that they're yet to get, and I think that's the one that they will want the most, especially Pep Guardiola. So I think it's very, very plausible that they don't win a trophy next year if they get too wrapped up in the Champions League. And the Champions League, you only have to have a poor 45 minutes, and your whole season's turned upside down. I mean, you look at Barcelona with Liverpool's comeback, you look at Ajax with Tottenham's comeback. Like a Champions League campaign can go completely 180 in a matter of moments. So I mean, it's high risk but high reward. So yeah, I think it's possible they could go next season without winning the trophy. But I mean, they look like they should win at least one.
Alex, do you agree with that, or do you think City are going to win it?
I mean, I don't know if it's more hope, but I've gone Liverpool, mate. I've gone Liverpool to win it.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they were close at 1 point last season. We know they've got the quality. As long as Salah, Mane, Firmino, and the defense is still solid, as long as everyone just keeps up what they did last year, I reckon they can seriously do it. I think. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Guardiola, like in press conferences recently, hasn't he said something about not prioritizing Champions League or something? Has he said something like that? I'm pretty sure I heard him say something about how winning the Champions League isn't the biggest deal in the world or something. And so he's just talking a load of rubbish, in my opinion.
I mean, he might have said that, but we all know that's rubbish. We all know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like thinking about the Champions League.
So he's going to go for the Champions League, I think. And like you lot just said, it could jeopardize going for other stuff. But their squad is just so good that, I mean, look, I just don't want to be boring, really. Yeah, City are probably going to win it. But, like I said, it's more out of hope that I'm going. But I'm predicting Liverpool to win. So, it will be laughing when Liverpool win it next season.
I cannot see it happening. I think City will win it. I think they'll win it for the third time. I think Pep Guardiola only improves every season at the club he's at. We saw it with Barcelona team. Won it 3 times in a row. Only got better. Dominated. Arguably one of the best teams we've seen over the past sort of 30 years. And I think he's going to do it with City again. I think they're going to be very impressive next season. I think they've got too much quality and too much depth to not win the Premier League, despite focusing on the Champions League. Of course, he's going to have pressure to perform in the Champions League, but that doesn't mean he's going to expect anything less in the Premier League, because we've seen it even in FA Cup matches, League Cup matches. He still demands everything from his players, and that's why they won three cups last season. I think he doesn't value any game more important than any other game. I think he could go to a Bournemouth away, or he could go to Barcelona away. He'd still have the same mentality installed into his players, where they want to win. They're a winning team. Winning's basically a drug that he wants to just keep going into the squad, and I don't think they'll want to lose that. They're all winners. They know exactly what they've got to do, and they've made 2 decent signings just to add to their quality. And even despite Leroy Sané picking up a long-term injury, they still got the quality going forwards and strength in depth to challenge in both the Champions League and Premier League. And I think they're going to win it quite convincingly. And I think Liverpool will be not as impressive, to be honest. I think they'll lose a lot more games than one game. And I think the gap between City and Liverpool this season will be a lot bigger than we saw last season. But yeah, that concludes our 1 to 20 predictions. We'll see how badly we got these wrong come come May time. But before we go, let's just quickly have our 3 predictions for the cups. We're going to do the Carabao Cup, FA Cup, and Champions League. We'll start with the Carabao Cup because that's first. Who do we think is going to win that this season? Who do you reckon, Sam?
I went with Liverpool just about. I had Tottenham or Liverpool, but obviously Pochettino does this thing where he doesn't really prioritise domestic cups and he prefers either a Champions League or Premier League. But I'd like to see Spurs win a trophy. I think it'd be nice to see Pochettino finally win one, but that's only if he prioritises it. But other than that, Liverpool.
Jacob, who you got for League Cup?
I always find it difficult with League Cup and FA Cup and stuff, but I've gone for Spurs because I think it's about time they won a trophy. I think a trophy's incoming. I think they've got a good enough team. They've got a lot of confidence coming out of the Champions League final. And, I think they've got their eyes on the trophy, and I think this could be the season that they finally break their curse.
Okay. Alex?
United. I think we need it.
Which United?
Man United, obviously. which United?
Sheffield United.
No, mate, Man United. We need it. We need a trophy this season just to keep morale up and not to make everyone want to jump off Beachy Head.
Brilliant.
We just need a trophy, I think, and I think it's the one that Man United are most likely to win. So I think Solskjaer will go for a run in the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, I've gone Liverpool in this one. I think although they don't always play the strongest team in these sort of competitions, I think they'll probably target winning a trophy again this season, and that's probably one they'll be looking to get their hands on. FA Cup, this is always quite a difficult one because there are quite a few shocks in this competition. Anyone got a surprise winner for the FA Cup? Sam, what you got?
I went Man City.
Man City again?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Not much to say about that one.
No.
Jacob?
Yeah, I've gone Man City as well.
Brilliant. Alex?
I've gone Arsenal.
Oh.
Yeah.
Most per Arsenal.
Yeah, I think Arsenal will go for one. If not winning it, at least make the final and then maybe lose to City in the final. But I think they could win it.
Yeah, I think I've gone Man United to win the FA Cup, or if not, I think if it's not Man United are my pick. But if it's not them, I think it'll be one of the between like 10th and 7th place teams, sort of like a Leicester or Everton, Wolves, West Ham. One of those teams will win it. And the big one, Champions League. Who's going to win it this season?
I don't know.
None of us know, Sam, but we're trying to predict, mate.
Sounds really into this, Sam.
I went Atletico Madrid last year, and I'm still embarrassed by it. So, Barcelona, maybe Man City. I don't know.
Yeah, the Champions League's so difficult to call, but I've gone with Man City as well.
Okay, Sam, what's your final pick? I need your final pick here, mate.
I don't see Man City winning it. I want to say Man City. I'll go Man City, but I don't see them winning it.
But that's not predictive.
Don't see him winning it. Oh, I'll go Man City. Brilliant. Alex, what you got? Liverpool?
No, I've not got Liverpool.
Oh.
I've got Juventus actually.
Juve?
Really?
Yeah.
Decent shout.
Yeah.
What, Ronaldo's going to carry him?
No.
Is that your thinking?
I mean, Ronaldo will do his bit, but I reckon this is their year.
Well, Juventus are like Man City. They've got the right. They won. In their country. There's not much competition. They care. They would give everything up for a Champions League title.
Yeah, I reckon they'll focus a lot on it. So, and with Ronaldo there, the mentality changes, doesn't it? So, they're big contenders for it, I think.
Yeah, I think this is the season Man City win the Champions League, to be honest. That concludes our predictions. Before we go, I just want to have one little discussion about a topic coming in next season. VAR. Do we think it's going to be a success in the Premier League for its first season? Yes or no?
Was it not in it last season?
Oh my
Jesus
God.
Christ.
Right, that's the end of the podcast. Thanks for listening. You being serious, Alex?
Yeah, I genuinely thought
In
it
the
was-
Premier League,
Yeah,
VAR.
I genuinely did think that.
Okay. You think it's going to be a success, Alex?
I mean, I
How
already
is it
thought it was a
success last
success.
season?
Well,
Yeah, was it successful last season?
Yeah, I already think it is a successful thing. I think it's good. Everyone says it ruins the game and slows it down, but no, come on.
That's because you never go to the games.
Well, I mean, I'm going to West Ham, Man United in September. So
Are you?
yeah, mate.
What? How do you get tickets for that?
Yeah, we'll go into that another time, innit?
Okay,
I-
well,
Right, just want to do yes or no. Alex, is it going to be successful? Yes or no?
Yes.
Jacob, yes or no?
first season, no.
Okay, Sam?
Overall, yeah, but we'll have a few sticky points, especially early on, which are very controversial.
Yep, agreed. I think it'll be good overall, but there'll be a few controversial decisions. And there we go. There's our predictions for the season. Are you guys confident on your predictions?
No.
Yes.
No? It's hard. It is difficult to predict. I'd be surprised if, well, last season, what was the most anyone got? Like 4 or 5 positions in the league.
Yeah.
So we'll target 6. If anyone gets 6 this season, we'll give them a prize or something. Don't know. You can have like a Haribo or something.
Big
But,
pint of Duke.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Duke, free drinks for the night for Dave DeWape.
Get Dave on it.
An exclusive night out with David Ray.
Exclusive coming next season. We're having Dave the Rave on the podcast.
Could be our sponsor. mate.
Amazing.
Sponsored by Dave DeWape.
There we go. So welcome back to the Final Whistle podcast. Thank you, Jacob, Sam, and Alex for joining me tonight.
Cheers, mate.
That's right.
Those were our predictions. The Premier League kicks off. Well, as you're listening to it, it'll be today. Liverpool Norwich on Friday night. Quick score prediction for the first game. What do we reckon, lads? Liverpool Norwich.
4-0 to Liverpool.
4-0, 3. I had 4-0, 3-0, 3-1 in my head then, but three things. But yeah, but we're all predicting big score lines for this one. And yeah, we'll see how the Premier League season develops. There's bound to be surprises along the way. I'm thoroughly looking forward to it. Thank you for listening. This has been the Final Whistle, and we'll catch you on the next one.